Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we kept going with the Void Crusade, and we will pick that right back up by going here to deal with the Eldar. Can still manage to squeeze out some fights here. I don't like that warp damage. I'm kinda little spook there. I don't trust it. Reflect damage, okay, it's acceptable. So, this December, I swear, is the month that has just been doling out the news like there's no tomorrow. You'd swear in some weird cosmic way everybody just waited to drop everything now. Like layoffs. So Hasbro laid off a ton of people at Wizards of the Coast. People think they're gonna sell because they gutted their staff, including a ton of the top people. Then Embracer, in their oh-so-infinite wisdom, if you couldn't tell, this is very sarcastic, I think they're idiots, they decided, instead of trying to get some projects out the door, make sure there's some quality control so we don't have a Saints Row reboot again happen, they're like, nah, let's just start shutting stuff down. So, the studio behind Insurgency Sandstorm, some other stuff I don't remember, had 4 projects in the works, and they just got shown the door. Entire studio just nuked from orbit. Which, I can't remember if that was which studio that is, because then there was also Slipgate Ironworks, which that might have been them. 3D Realms had a bunch of layoffs. And the news, I am not happy to share this news. I sound calm, but I am vehemently pissed off. They shut down Free Radical. So, Time Splitters is once again dead. Granted, if you know the history of Time Splitters, they've always had kind of a rough go of things. So nothing is too shocking, but at the same time, I'm just sitting here going, are you kidding me? I just want, admittedly, it's my comfort game, but I want my comfort game. I want the game that I remember playing growing up and having my buddy Alex, when I'd ride the school bus, talk to me about it and tell me how cool it was. And then I finally found a copy of it in the big old pile of video games they had at Costco. And I begged and pleaded until I got that game. And then I no-lifed the hell out of it. And I loved every second of it. It's a game I still play with one of my best friends. When we hang out, we will fire up his Xbox and play it for a couple hours. And I wanted a new game. I wanted that to come back because I figured if it succeeded, we might have a revival of that kind of goofy... It's not boomer shooter, but it was boomer shooter adjacent. And it sucks, because these guys got let go in December, just like the guys at 3D Realms, guys at Slipgate, all these people. December of all months, you turn around and go, yeah, nah, you're gonna have to find a job. Good luck. Now, some people have been fortunate enough to be reached out to by other studios, but there's always a cost. And it sucks, because it's never fun seeing these studios go under. And like I said before, Embracer sat here, burned $2 billion, expecting to get $2 billion from their deal with Saudi Arabia. And then it fell through, and they just went, oh damn, maybe we shouldn't have burned $2 billion we didn't actually have. I swear to God, these people don't understand, like, personal money financing and money management. I was taught, that is a basic rule you're taught as a child. If you don't have the money for something, don't buy it. You can't buy it. But I guess in the corporate world, if you don't have the money for something, you can still just buy it and pray to God that it works out for you. But there was other news that came out. Some devs were talking about their time working on Time Splitters. And I can only describe it as this was definitely a game where the suit stepped in first. Because from 2018 to estimating, saying beginning of 2023, the game was just being built to be a Fortnite clone with some staples of Time Splitters kind of grafted on. And the second I read that, I was like, oh yeah, this is a suit touching this, because that is literally the joke I make. Not even really a joke, just kind of a statement at this point. Where you have someone in a suit come into the game studio and go, yeah, Fortnite's popular, make us a Fortnite. And then in the last year, they finally kind of came around to, hey, if we do a Fortnite clone, we're gonna just get shuttered instantly because it'll fail. So they made like a Time Splitters 2 remaster with some stuff from 1 and Future Perfect. Which my first thought was, oh, so you did Time Splitters Rewind. Admittedly, it looks really good, the assets they had made. But it's like you probably should have started with kind of a greatest hits kind of deal if this was your goal. But it's just, it's a disappointment. I wanted Time Splitters to come back, and it feels like one of those monkey's paw things where you're like, oh, I want Time Splitters to come back. Okay, monkey's paw curls. It's coming back, and then it's shutting down before it comes out. You didn't ask, or you didn't specify for how long it's coming back. You just wanted it back. And people have talked about Rewind, which, at this point, I think Rewind is dead in the water. They've talked about getting a playable beta out for, what, 2 years, 3 years? And every time it's, oh, we want to add more to the game, we want to add more to the game. Which, I've said all this stuff before, but I feel like it just needs reiterating. You get your stuff out when you can. You need to test these things, get it into an open environment. Get your name out there, because the people who know of Rewind are people who still know of Time Splitters and follow it. And the people still following Time Splitters are typically a lot of people in their 30s or older. And we're not getting any younger, and there's not really any means for a lot of people to just find the games to build a new community. It's a situation where if you're sitting here going, oh, well, there wasn't a ton of demand, there's not a big community, well, you kind of need to get something out at this point to see a community form. But man, just layoffs, cancellations. There's still some leads and devs saying, oh, well, the industry is going to bounce back, guys, don't worry. And I admire their optimism. I hope it's true. I'd love for 2024 to be the comeback season. The great rebound. where studios are just opening up left and right, games are just getting started and everybody's hyped. I was about to say E3 is a banger, but E3 is dead. Rip the homie. Now we get to just enjoy Summer Games Fest with Jeff Keighley. And enjoy having all the information spread out over the whole month of June and into July. That's gonna be annoying. But I hope it is a recovery. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I'm a bit of a pessimist when it comes to this stuff, just because we haven't had a rebound in the games industry yet. The last rebound was after the 80s. And that was because the entire industry literally collapsed. But going with collapse and everything else, and cancellations, there was actually a lot of news too. Naughty Dog canceled the multiplayer Last of Us game. Some people have been saying, oh, it was Factions 2. It was not Factions 2. I guarantee it, simply because if you wanted to make The Last of Us Factions 2, all you had to do was make The Last of Us Factions and then add stuff. The core gameplay loop was solid. Was I a big fan of it? Not really. I get the idea, but spawning in and having to, like, open a random tool chest that has, like, 6 2x4s, a bunch of nails, and gunpowder to make a pipe bomb felt a little annoying, since it's like, okay, let me stop, open up the menu, click down, make the thing. Okay, it's in my inventory, yada yada. It felt like busy work. I get that was kind of the intent. I would have preferred you spawn in with whatever, but then if you want to resupply, that's when the crafting comes in. Because otherwise, if you watch gameplay, it's a lot of guys who either they build for not using any gear, or their first few seconds are them crafting a bunch of crap. And then every respawn is them crafting a bunch of crap. But my theory is that it was never Factions 2. If you look at the concept art, there was a piece that was, if you can find the Forbes article, and it's these two people on a rooftop in a city looking over, and there's a town, and there's this orangish dust cloud, smoke, whatever it is rolling in. I think it was a battle royale. I think what happened was this game started in like 2018, and as time went on, they went, oh, we can't compete in this market, 2020 Warzone overran everybody. They're like, okay, what do we shift to? Time elapsed. They're still like, maybe we can squeeze this out. Then BRs, like, the bottom fell out of that market. Extraction shooters. But the bottom is already falling out of that. So they're like, oh god, what do we pivot to? Well, do you go to Factions? Because you spent, at this point, 5 years developing it, minimum. And when Neil Druckmann goes, oh, this was such a great idea, we had to make it a standalone game. You can't sell Factions alone to players. I mean, sure, there are people now who are stupid enough to buy Factions. If they wanted it, they'd be like, oh, this is totally worth $70 or $50 or however much. But your average person would be like, this was bundled in with The Last of Us 1, and you want us to pay potentially full price for a sequel. So I think they kind of sat there and said, we have spent too much time, too much money, and we have wandered into this craggy hole that we cannot get out of. so let's just kill the project. And if we go maximum tinfoil hat here, Bungie is making an extraction shooter. They were called in to give pointers because they're the live service gurus. Their title, not what I would give them. Ironic considering they're pile driving Destiny into the dirt. But they're the live service gurus, and they said, oh, well, you guys don't have enough to retain players and all this stuff, which, if you're going off Destiny, means there wasn't enough microtransactions and grind walls. But there's also the insane theory I have that not wanting another competitor in the extraction shooter genre, especially within PlayStation's ecosystem, they might have potentially internally sabotaged it. Granted, like I said, tinfoil hat. I have nothing to back this claim up outside of insanity. But I could see it. And Naughty Dog, they said, oh, well, we're gonna stick to making stuff for single player because that's what we're good at. And I'm like, you're good at making single player games? Since when? Can't be the last decade because you haven't made crap. You made The Last of Us, and The Last of Us Part 2, and The Last of Us Part 1 remastered, and the upcoming Last of Us Part 2 remastered. You don't have a foot to stand on here. You make stories that railroad you and try to make you feel like you are a bad person for doing what you were forced to do. But so they have all this, and... Oh, I hit the heel. But it's bad. Hey, we actually got that done. Well, that's neat. Doesn't really mean much to me, but... okay. Oh, it's a siege. Yeah, we can slap whatever on here. Except heat resist. We can't put heat resist on these guys. Yeah, just... honestly, the whole Naughty Dog saying, oh, we're gonna stick to what we do, get best, it feels like one of those things of, oh, we actually are just bad at this. They also said they didn't want to... that they would have to essentially turn into a live service support studio to support the game. And on one hand, I do get it. Live service can be very demanding. But I'm also looking at this like, you don't need to have every single live service aspect to survive. Realistically, you need maps, occasional new weapons, and some cosmetics. You don't need battle passes. You don't need all the FOMO-abusing, bloated garbage that the industry has gorged itself on for the past 8-10 years. You really don't. Someone has to break the cycle, and the studio that does is going to be rewarded. Because apathy sets in with these people. Because everybody's tired of battle passes. Hell, I play a Warhammer mobile game. Warhammer Tacticus. Is it good? It's your typical collect shards for a hero, collect gear, 6 gear pieces to upgrade them to another tier, now they're stronger type beat. And it's not bad, but I feel like I'm never making progress. They have a bunch of characters that are still not able to be unlocked outside of paying like $20 for 10 random character draws, which 9 times out of 10 you get people you already have. I just get like the free 10 draws by playing enough, and every time it's just disappointment. So I'm like, you gotta be insane if you think I'm gonna pay to be disappointed when I can be disappointed for free. But it's a thing they do now where they have their battle pass, the paid track, and the premium track, or like the special premium track. And we've seen this with Call of Duty with the Black Cell upgrade, and we're seeing this more and more now, where it feels like these games are either becoming even greedier, or they're just trying to expand their profit margins. And it's like, oh, you know, you can spend $10 for the pass, or you can spend $30, and every so often you get an extra reward. And I just... whoever can break from that will be rewarded, because that insanity is the most soul-crushing and tedious thing imaginable. I hate seeing it in games, because it just feels more and more like they're just kind of holding you at gunpoint, just going, give us more money. And I get it, everyone has to make money. I don't fault any game for selling stuff. But at the same time, moderation is a critical thing. Warframe is a great example. They have a battle pass, but it is completely free, the Nightwave system, and you can't pay for anything. I would rather just have alt skins that still fall within the realm of believability than have crazy battle passes or Nicki Minaj show up in my game. It's weird. I get it, people are dumb enough, they'll buy anything. But it's just disappointing, especially because, as I said a while back too, this stuff starts to damage the overall design choices of the game. Hell, I've started seeing articles pointing this out, saying, hey, this is actually ruining games, because every game becomes this slurry of random garbage and promotional junk. This amalgam of weird things like Rainbow Six Siege.
Inquisitor. Electrospectral scanning revealed info fragments of high importance in close
You go from having like believable tactical operators in Siege to like, hey, you can be Pickle Rick and Master Chief, and it just kills the experience. It feels so disjointed. Hell, even within Warframe, they have the Ten-O-Gen, which is players can make skins and then submit them, and they actually get paid per sale of the skin. You can't discount them for obvious reasons, but you can make money. And even those, like there's a guy, I can't remember his name, but he does the, I think it's the Grax skins. They're all Warframe skins that look like Grineer themed versions of frames. I love them. If I could, I'd buy every single one, because they fit. They genuinely fit the game and the aesthetics, and they're well made. Those are the kind of cosmetics that should be sold in games. Not relying on existing garbage. And I feel like Naughty Dog, if they actually put in the time, the effort, they could do it. They could make skins that would fit. What's in the box? It's okay. crafting materials. Good, everything saved. The game crashed on me. Didn't expect a crash. Let's actually check the seasonal mission. Not a boss fight yet. Little worrisome that it's not a boss yet, but we will adjust accordingly. Ooh. Oh yeah, the vulnerability stuff. We'll squeeze in one more mission. I'm feeling it. Oh yeah, this is like the last mission. Yeah, the last mission that will add any difficulty, but I'm gonna check the map while I'm looking here. Oh yeah. That is the last mission. That will add any challenge because everything else... Oh no. Yeah. Because then this one will add difficulty to here, which we're not doing. And then we do this one after it, which is going to suck a little bit more. But then everything else will not be as difficult. Cool. 72, nice. Also, while I was loading in, I just realized something. So, The Last of Us multiplayer game, because we don't have a title, being cancelled. Was that one of Sony's planned free-to-play games? One of their live service games that they're like, we're gonna have a dozen by March 2025, 2026? Because they already had to push half of them past that date, and if that was one of the ones that was supposed to be on track to be the first 6, it's not looking good. Granted, I feel like the industry's kind of... They've never been told, or they never really listened to the old adage of don't count your chickens before they hatch. Oh, I mean, we can see this in everyone, really. Everybody's sitting here thinking, well, we're gonna make insert amazing thing here, and it turns out they made terrible thing here. Like Starfield. Which that was something I was talking to a friend of mine about, because he bought Starfield, RIP, but we're just kind of talking about the game. And he said, yeah, it's weird how Bethesda on Steam has been trying to like convince people you're not right for giving the game like a negative review. You're just not enjoying it correctly. And going, oh, well, astronauts, Neil Armstrong, and Buzz Aldrin and all them, didn't have to have a bunch of exciting stuff on the moon when they got there, and they were still excited, and people are like, yeah, but I'm sitting on my couch. I'm not actually going to another planet. Which is true. If I went to Mars... It doesn't have to have ancient alien ruins and the Anunnaki jumping out to mug me for my wallet. It can just be sand and rock, and I'd be like, yo, I'm on Mars. I have been where literally no human has been before. my inner explorer is going insane. But when I play a video game, I kind of expect stuff. And people had pointed out, when it comes to Starfield, like, when you play a Bethesda game, one of the fun things is just wandering around, because you know there's always something going on. You can walk to just some random little location and find maybe an Easter egg, or in Fallout get jumped by a rad scorpion, or find some super mutants, or a unmarked building with a skeleton inside. It's something little and neat, but Starfield doesn't have that. It's just, yeah, walk someplace. And you don't have that thrill of, oh, what might I find? It's just, okay, I'm literally watching a little ticker count down the distance until my marked location appears. But we're talking about just Bethesda's weird reaction. Because there was one of the leads goes, all players are too divorced from how games are made and all this stuff. And like some people said, then show us how games are made. No one does it, because when it does happen, everybody's so paranoid that it's gonna affect sales if someone sees like a super in-dev version of a game. Hell, I remember Battlefield 1, some YouTubers were playing on one of the maps that was still being white-boxed. There was no textures, it was just all grays. And that was cool, because people don't see how levels are made. People don't see pre-texture layouts and how things might change. That was interesting. That was a peek behind the curtain. And I don't think people are really that divorced from how games are made these days because of indie devs. Because if you really want to know how a game is made, you can literally watch YouTube tutorials. You can watch, it's a very basic, bare-bones game, but you can watch a game be made. You can understand, oh, that's how this works. That's how this thing is created. You have, in some cases, rough ideas. That's honestly how I learned a lot of stuff. YouTube tutorials and kind of piecing together what I know and trial and error. Some of it came from, like, modding Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Oh, this is how items are stored. That's arrays. Here's how spawn tables work. We're not that detached. I just think they're so startled by how negatively received Starfield was, and they're so used to the community accepting all the jank and accepting everything and being like, oh, Bethesda can't fail because their last few games, 76 was their Austin studio, the Redfall they simply published, their hands were by and large clean of it. And I've said this before, I know a guy who works at Bethesda. He's a relative of mine. What he does at some network thing, I don't fully understand it. Every time I talk to him about it, he's like, oh, I can't really say, and I'm like, bullshit, dude, just tell me. Odds are I'm either going to understand entirely, and it's actually incredibly mundane, or I'm not going to understand at all. It's one of two extremes. Because, come on, it's a game studio. It's not like you're making like an experimental new kind of J-Dam or something. It's not the Manhattan Project. But yeah, I think they're finally realizing they've rested on their laurels for too long, and they lost that edge they once had, and it's starting to bite them in the ass. and the engine is horribly outdated. And anybody who's like, oh, well, the engine's fine. No, it isn't. It's a modified version of Gamebryo. Gamebryo made Oblivion, and I think that's what might have been used for Morrowind. At a certain point, you just gotta kind of nut up and say, okay, engine's borked, make new engine, or just use what industry standards are now. Hell, just get Unreal and modify the hell out of it. That's what everybody does these days. Yeah, I think in general, a lot of studios are kind of coming to that moment of realization of, oh, we're not as good as we used to be. Which you can blame on corporate interference. I blame it on shareholder expectations. And part of it is just some of the staff just isn't up to snuff. Once again, look at Druckmann. The dude has very clearly made it out that he wants to do, like, writing and directing for Hollywood. He's just kind of slumming it in games for now. Which, I wish they would just give him a job in Hollywood. I wouldn't watch anything he makes, but I'd like him to just go do his thing. If he succeeds, cool. If he doesn't, he can stay there. I'd like to see someone with more vision and drive take over Naughty Dog. This thing crashed again. God. Do I need to pray to the machine spirit? Do I swear I need to get some of the little Imperial Purity seals. Like the ones up there, and just, like, stick one to my PlayStation at this rate. Like, come on, little guy. Quit crashing on me. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.